I'm not going to waste your time. Here's the top line information you need to know to determine if Gemini Pro is worth your time. The TLDR is the king of AI has not returned yet. I highly recommend you try out Gemini Pro, but not because it's outperforming GPT-4. Despite all the drama around Google demos for Gemini technology, overall, Gemini Pro performs slightly better than GPT 3.5 Turbo, winning in some cases while losing in others. There's this really great blog post by this company called Clue that just came out. I've been able to back up a lot of what they've been claiming here throughout the article, and I think it's pretty spot on. I'm going to give you the top level metrics right now. I've got this all in a code base that you can check out. This is the LLM eval code base. I have the repo up. If you scroll down to the section titled Gemini Pro versus GPT 3.5, you can see I've got a quick section here showcasing the highlights between Gemini Pro and GPT 3.5. Gemini Pro is slightly better than GPT 3.5. There's a small to medium sized edge. I'm not exactly quite sure how large this edge is. It really depends on your use case. When it comes to price comparison, they're the exact same. So Google is being pretty aware, and I think they're actually making a statement with this price point. They're saying this is our GPT 3.5, right? And what comes next is, of course, Gemini Ultra. They've mentioned Ultra in their LLM marketing / evaluation blog post here. You know, they're claiming that Ultra is going to surpass GPT-4. We'll see about that. You know, we're going to cover that as soon as that comes out as well. Definitely subscribe if you're interested in that. On this channel, we use the best tool for the job. Right now, LLMs, agentic software, autonomous software is the name of the game. And so that means you need to be using the best model for the job. I'm spending a lot of time focusing on scaling up LLM evaluation and testing frameworks. Hence this video and my previous video. Just like writing software, you want to know that your prompts are working just like your code is working. And prompt testing allows you to confirm and know with serious confidence that your prompts are going to deliver the outcomes that you're looking for. So let's continue down the line. So, you know, Gemini Pro 3.5, exact same price. Now, here's something pretty interesting. So Gemini Pro demonstrated pretty superior speed. We're going to dig into the exact numbers here. This is something I really look out for. This is super important. That's awesome. So instruction following, again, this is another area where Gemini Pro seems to excel. It sticks closer to what you're asking, which I think is a huge advantage. This is one of my top metrics I look for when I'm comparing LLMs. Is it listening to the prompt, and how much prompt engineering do I have to do to get the results I'm looking for? So content generation, GPT 3.5 has a slight advantage here. I found that, you know, it produces a bit more nuance and varied results. I'm sure this can be tweaked in both models, you know, with temperature, but I just found on average 3.5 is a little bit better with content generation. Language understanding, Gemini Pro shows superior language understanding. You know, when you start putting together these benchmarks, you can see why I've rated Gemini Pro slightly better. The speed's there, instruction following is there, language understanding is there, but we do have some negatives. You know, Gemini Pro seems to be biased toward Google. It's pretty obvious why, but it seems to like randomly throw references to Google in the prompt responses. You know, I don't know why that wasn't like cleaned up or removed from the data. Maybe it was inserted. Seems like something Google would do. I don't know. I'm not really sure. You know, for that reason, I found that, you know, GPT 3.5 was more unbiased. If you've used any Google Cloud technologies, you know that there's some setup costs. In general, more mature cloud platforms have a little bit steeper of a learning curve. The API is usually going to be a little more complex just because they have to and want to support more use cases. Gemini Pro loses here. The OpenAI API is much easier to understand, reason about, and use, but there's not a huge gap here. So, you know, just a small difference, something to call out. AI alignment and safety. This mostly comes from Gemini Pro and other Google LLMs being extremely restrictive. Some engineers, some people really want to be able to prompt anything they want under the sun, no matter how, you know, kind of hostile or opinionated or intense it might be. I don't really care. The things I want to do with LLMs and the products I want to build, they're not edgy in any way. I'm not trying to blur the lines of any social ideas. I am fully avoiding, you know, the politics of the deeper conversation around, you know, AI alignment and safety. I have had no problem so far, even with Gemini, and I've noticed it is a bit more restrictive. I've had no issues with it when building products so far. I know that this is something that other people, other engineers, other product builders really care about, so I just wanted to call it out here. Multimodal capabilities, Gemini Pro blows GPT 3.5 out of the water here. GPT 3.5 Turbo it's a second version of an older model. It does not have multimodal support. Gemini Pro is a brand new model. It's got tons of Google tech behind it, and it's newer, obviously. So it has tons of multimodal functionality, which you saw likely in their blog post. So pretty cool stuff. And so these are some common benchmarks, and also just some like really personal benchmarks that I like to look at. I think every product builder and every engineer is going to have their own specific ranking of what they care most about when it comes to picking the right model, right? For a lot of people, for a lot of builders, the developer experience is everything, right? If it has a better DX, like you're there, and I don't blame you, right? Better DX is highly correlated with speed. But, I know some engineers really only care about good content generation, right? Or, speed. The speed is up there with me. I'm going to throw up my top ranking on the screen right now just so you can see that. What I care most about, I've been using this stuff since it first came out. Seems like so long ago now, but only a little over a year or something. These are my rankings. I have my own reasons for this. For me, really, instruction following is the key, followed by speed. If a model has those two things, I'm willing to sacrifice on pretty much everything else, right? Price, content generation, bias, like everything else kind of falls to the side if they can really follow instructions, create concise results really consistently, and it's fast, right? I don't want my users to have to wait. I think if you really are in that product headspace, you're always looking at technology through the lens of how it impacts your users. So that's what I like to do, right? What can it follow instructions? How fast is it, right? And then everything else is a distant third, fourth, fifth place, whatever. Drop a comment. I'd love to know what you care about the most. Like, what's your personal ranking? Maybe your top 3, your top 4. And, if there's something missing here that you want to see in future evaluations. I'm really excited to compare Gemini Ultra. I'm definitely going to make a video on that. So, if I'm missing something here that you want to see, drop a comment. I'll make sure to cover it. One that I was thinking of that kind of want to add is like privacy. Although it seems kind of dumb because like everyone has the same stance. They always say that they won't use your data. It's anonymized and, it's like all good. So I don't know how, useful that'll be. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you'd like to see there. Let's continue. So I have a bunch of other notes here around prompt testing. So, feel free to jump in and check this out real quick. I just want to show you a couple of tests that I have set up to, help evaluate prompts and prompt providers. So let me go ahead and open up that code base that we were just in. Here's the README. We can scroll up to the top. There are some quick setup instructions. All this is listed here. You could also check out the previous video for more detailed setup instructions. I've added the new instructions on how to set up Gemini, and I've also added Gemini to our prompt foo tests. So let's go ahead and just check out one example here. I'm going to go ahead and cd into lowercase is NLQ minimal agent prompt. I'm going to export all my API keys, prompt foo eval. So just in the directory, running prompt foo eval. And as you can see here, if we open up prompt foo config, I've added the Gemini Pro provider. Okay, so we have that there. I'm going to now run prompt foo view so you can see the UI. I already have it running, so I'm going to open up Chrome and check out the results. So you can see here we have a couple of tests. So first of all, what are we testing? Let's take a quick step back. I know this UI looks a little complex. It's not. You can see we have 3 files here. We have the prompt foo config, and we have test YAML. So this is everything we need to test out our prompts. And prompt config, you can see here we're referencing our prompt.txt and a glob pattern for tests. We have 3 providers, so each prompt is going to run for each provider, and each test will also run for each prompt for each provider, right? So if we hop into the prompt, you can see here, I have a simple prompt. Is the following block of text a SQL natural language query? So I want to get a clear answer, yes or no, if the SQL natural language query that I'm passing in is a valid NLQ, right? And in the test, you can see this is where all the magic happens. So let me just collapse here to simplify. And you can see here, I have this being passed in, list jobs that have run longer than 30 seconds. And in the response, in the assertion statement, all I'm saying is make sure that the results have one of these words, right? So this is I contains any. This is one of many assertion types from prompt foo. Definitely check those out. You can find all the assertion types in the docs, of course. This basically creates a great test for each LLM provider that makes sure that the response of this prompt, given this NLQ variable, so this actually will end up looking like this for that specific test, right? It'll look like this, right? So it'll pass that in the NLQ variable right there, and then it'll run and, assert the results there. And then I have 2 additional tests here, and this is what creates this UI, right? So you can see here we have the NLQ running here, and you can see we have GPT-4, GPT 3.5, and Gemini Pro, right? You can see here we have a couple cache results. So I did run without the cache parameter. So I'm gonna go ahead and rerun this test. I always like to run eval with no cache so that I'm getting real true results every single time. You can see there it's printing cache is disabled. Okay, so you can see here we're running GPT-4, 3.5, and Gemini Pro. And you can see here Gemini Pro actually failed in one case. Really, I actually like how concisely it's responding here. Gemini Pro is actually inappropriately returning a bad result. In this case, list 5 users with Gmail email. Let's go ahead and look where that is here. So that's the second test case. So let me collapse these other two. And, in this result, this is a natural language query. So we have Gemini Pro actually returning the wrong results here. But you can see here, 3.5 returned great. Of course, 4 did it totally fine. Something to notice here, though, we can see the average times. This isn't supporting my findings here. Gemini Pro is about half a second slower than Turbo 3.5. So Turbo is running really fast right now, which is great. But also, you have GPT-4 running in 10 seconds. It took 10 seconds to run all of these, which is pretty gnarly. In this case, it looks like I actually want to be using 3.5 for this prompt scenario because we have Gemini Pro failing in one case entirely. And on the other hand, we have GPT-4 taking 10 times as long as GPT 3.5. So there's one test case. Let's go ahead and look at another test case. Let's go ahead and CD out and go into the is NLQ prompt. So this is a non-minimal version. So we have a little bit more beef here. In here, we have a similar format, except we have our providers with a different configuration block. And we have this default test setup. And this is really great. This is more of what I'm using in production. This is a really, really useful mechanism that PromptFoo provides. Not only can you specify all the variables of each provider, but you can come in and set up a default test to be rerun among all of your tests while swapping out some of the variables, right? So you can say always run these assertions, but in the tests, which we can see here, I have a bunch of NLQs coming in. These will change. I want these to be dynamic, but I always want to just test the exact same thing, right? And what assertions am I running here? I want to see if it's returning JSON. I'm looking for 2 variables, rank and passable. And then we have the types. So it's a number and a Boolean. And of course, at the bottom, you can see we're referencing our files, and that's that. So, a lot more going on here, a lot more tests. Here's the prompt. So basically, I have a more detailed production-like setup. This prompt is one I actually have running in production. So this is a real live test that you're seeing. And, this test helps fuel Talk to Your Database. So Talk to Your Database is an application that we started on this channel in the Postgres Data Analytics series, and it's turned into a full product. So when you enter a prompt into Talk to Your Database, it first checks, hey, is this even a valid natural language query? Is it a valid natural language prompt? And then after it's validated, then it goes ahead and generates the SQL and then the actual results. So you can see here, if I just type something in like ping, this is not a valid NLQ, right? So this is something that, your application is going to get a lot of input. You need to make sure that it's getting filtered out properly. If we look at the results here, invalid NLQ, right? But if we say something like list 10 users, right? And hit enter there, this is going to pass the NLQ test, and then it's going to give back a valid response. There we go. So we can see that come back, list 10 users, and then we can open up the results and we have exactly 10 users, right? So prompt testing is really important. You need to make sure that your application is actually doing what it needs to do. So I've been using tons of prompt testing to validate and ship a better product here. Talk to Your Database, by the way, is live. There's a demo version out ready. You can just hop in here and connect, and you can use the access code 7777. Check out the application if you're interested. There's a lot more work going on here in the background to make this a wonderful, really great experience for developers. Let's hop back to the meat of this. So you can see here, we have the new Vertex Gemini Pro. So let's go ahead and run this, right? So once again, we're just gonna run that PromptFoo eval, no cache. So I don't want this cache to run. This is gonna run a ton of test cases. So make sure you're actually ready when it's time to run this, right? So we have 39 test cases because for each prompt, and we have just one prompt here, but we have, maybe, 13 actual tests. And then we have, 13 times 3 providers. We have, I'm running 4, 3.5, and Gemini. So let's go ahead and look at the results in the UI. So awesome. So here are the results. We can see we had a couple tests fail, and we can see we got a lot of great results as well. So, real quick, top line, we're looking at 3.5. We're looking at Gemini Pro. and we're looking at GPT-4. This is one case where you can see that on average, Gemini Pro is performing really, really quickly, right? So in the other test, we saw it performing a little more slowly. In this one, it's almost double the speed of 3.5 on average, okay? So that's really cool. So, here's the result I'm getting back. And just real quick, we can hop into that prompt one more time. So basically we're saying, is this block of text a SQL natural language query? Rate it from 1 to 5, and then return passable if it is greater than 2, okay? So we have this exact structure that we want it to return, and we can see without any additional, setup, we're getting the right results for, it looks like, both GPT-3 and Gemini Pro. We actually have a couple errors here in the regex format. GPT-4 giving us a couple bad responses. It could be argued that this is correct, and it could be argued that it's wrong. In my specific case for this product, for this application, I actually want these to go through, right? If someone just types in order payments, and that's the name of a table, which it is in the demo application of Talk to Your Database, I want that to just go through. Same with select 10 users. To me, this is a valid NLQ, natural language query. We have select unique user rules. Again, this is valid. So, in this case, GPT-4 is both slower and wrong, right? So I'm saying this, as a video to, kind of inform you and help you make better decisions on your products, but also building these tests and sharing it really helps me build better products, because as I'm looking at these results, I'm finding new information, and it's helping to inform and help me make better product decisions. A lot of the value here is, how much are you spending? How accurate is your prompt? How accurate is your prompt provider? Are you getting back results consistently enough for this to be production viable? If what you're doing isn't serving your users in the end, something needs to change, right? Change the LLM, change the prompt, change something, right? And PromptFu, prompt evaluation frameworks, comparing 3.5 to Gemini, they're going to help you get there, right? So it's really important to have some suite of tests that you can look at so that you can actually compare results, so that you actually know what's going on and you're not just guessing. I think a lot of us are still just guessing. It's time to really start getting value out of this, right? Let's let the hype cycle die. Let's start building real things, real applications with this. Let's stop making, meme apps and meme products. Let's start doing real stuff with LLM technology. And to do that, just like when you're writing code, you need proof. How do you prove something? You test it. So anyway, rant over. You can see here, we got pretty much the exact same token usage. So really, really interesting stuff. In this case where we have a lot more volume, maybe it's a volume thing, maybe it's the usage of that JSON format that you need to specify when you're using GPT 3 and 4, response object type JSON object. Maybe that's slowing things down. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe Gemini Pro is just really, really fast, right? Again, look at the top line here. We have the average coming in at about a second, 900 milliseconds. And then we have Gemini Pro coming in about half that time, 500 milliseconds, half a second. And you can see here on average, right, if we just search MS here, you can see here, Gemini is just blowing both GPTs out of the water. Of course, it's faster than GPT-4. GPT-4 is incredibly slow, but it's good to see this. It's good to have the proof. And, like I said, link in the description to this code base. You can get all of this, start testing, tweak all these tests to, your specific use case, to your product, and really dig into, improve your product to better serve your customers. So anyway, so that's that. Let's hop back into the README here. Let's go ahead and open up the README in the actual code base. Oh, one thing I wanted to call out real quick is the regex match that we're using here. This is pretty cool. You can see here that GPT-4 failed the regex match. That's one of the PromptFu test assertion statements. So we can see here we have, assert type regex, and then we're looking for anything, and then make sure it's 2, 3, 4, or 5, right? And then once again, anything. And so, GPT-4 failed here. Select an auth user. For whatever reason, it doesn't think that's a natural language query, and ranks it 1 and not passable, which is wrong, right? So our regex statement caught that. We need to see 2, 3, 4, or 5 anywhere in the string. So just wanted to call that out. There's a lot of really cool things, cool ways you can test using PromptFu. Definitely check them out. Link's going to be in the description for that. My favorite testing framework for sure, by far. Really going to stick with them for a while, I think. I don't see any issues. They have a bunch of great documentation. You can see here they have the Pro, and soon the Ultra is going to be coming out. So really excited to get into that, test that out. I'm 100% going to be creating a video benchmarking Gemini Ultra. Stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss someone actually testing these models on a production level application. So we're going to take it all the way. We're using this stuff in prod. I'm thoroughly testing out these models. Stay up to date with that by following the channel. You know what to do, hit the like, hit the sub. And yeah, definitely check out this blog post. I think it's really good. Top level comparison of Pro and GPT, good stuff. Gemini seems really great. Ultra is apparently going to be really insane. I'm really excited for that. Big shout out to everyone working on Prompt Foo. Really good stuff there. Let's go back to the code base real quick. Want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So what else do we have here? Yeah, and probably important to just highlight some of the high level again. Testing your prompts comes down to 3 things. Save money, save time. When you're using the best LLM, the cheapest LLM that really fits your use case. Got a spelling mistake here, nice. You're going to benefit from that, right? Like you as an individual developer, you as someone working in a company, you want to be min-maxing your resource usage, right? So ship with confidence. When you're testing your prompts, you can know, right? Just like we did here, right? If we look at those results again, right? Like once you can validate that type of input, you know that your application is working, right? Even with how non-deterministic LLMs are. So helps you really ship with confidence. And then of course, you plug this into a CI/CD process. It's going to help you prevent regressions. Maybe you're updating your prompt, maybe you're tweaking something. I highly recommend just like running it through a testing framework like PromptFoo first, and then make the update, right? So that the regression doesn't even happen. But regardless, this is going to help you catch regression. So, I think that's it for this video. TLDR is that, Gemini Pro isn't touching GPT-4 yet, but it's outperforming 3.5, which means that their Ultra benchmarks might actually be true, right? If we look wherever we found Ultra, these benchmarks might actually be true because, their 3.5 is outperforming GPT 3.5. So, really great stuff there. I'm pretty excited for this. I'm really excited to see how Gemini Ultra performs. I'm rooting for Google and really any and every LLM provider. I know I need to get on the Anthropic stack and get that integrated into some of my tests to see how they're performing, and that's the beauty of a prompt testing framework. You can just test everyone, right? And I'm very confident that, PromptFoo has a provider for them, right? So I just need to get in here and set that up. More competition means prices go down, benchmarks go up, which is good for developers, which means end users benefit, right? So competition here is good. We don't want one winner taking all. We don't want Google search happening over again, right? We do want more than one player creating models and being providers. Having more options means we can build better tools, better products for our users, clients, and customers. If you're into AI agents, prompt engineering, and using the best tool for the job, hit the sub, hit the like, drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.